What's going on, everybody? This is SO Chris 199 coming with you this week with a brand new video. And I know that I haven't uploaded on this channel for quite a long time. I'm now starting to find a baseline again. So it's been a while, at least a baseline for this week, because this is actually going to be the last weekend that I have off. And then that's pretty much going to be it for the next decade. So with my job, if I end up keeping the job for that long. But anyways, this is going to be my last weekend off before I actually start the next phase of my training for this job that I've been at for the last 6.5 months. And so what I wanted to talk to you guys about, just kind of like what's been going on in my life, recently. And also so I woke up this morning and I wake up, I've just been waking up early because I'm on day shift. So, like of what I've already been, telling you guys a couple times already. I guess I actually don't even remember what the last video was on this channel, but I've decided I'm going to come back and start doing my, usual 30-minute videos, but I've run out of stories to talk to you guys about, to be funny and, stuff like that when it comes to previous jobs, because I've run out of stuff. I think the last video I talked about was when I worked at that collision repair, call center, not collision repair, but this thing where I forgot what kind of call center it was, what exactly I was doing. I think it wasn't that, it was Walgreens. That was the last one that I think that was the last video I posted, I don't know how many months ago. It was a while ago. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to talk about, what's been going on recently, and also talk to you guys about, this morning I woke up at 6, and so, it's just been normal for me to wake up every day. I kind of just have been going to the bed at the same time for the last 6.5 months, where I'm going to bed at 8 at night, and then I wake up at 4:16 a.m. to get ready to be at work by, 4:40 to punch in. So I basically do 4:40 a.m. to 5:10, 5:20 p.m. So I'm working 13-hour days, 5 days a week with, 2 days off kind of thing. All right, so let's take a pause. So, I'm at the park right now. So, Saturday morning, I got up, didn't want to wake my wife up. So I went in the living room and watched a movie. And I watched this old one. It's not really that old. It came out in 2004. I think 2004, 2005, something like that. It's called Cheating Death, Stealing Life, the Eddie Guerrero story. I remember I sent that to my new friend, my coworker, because we were talking about that. That was, I forgot about that until just now. Last week when we were going out to, I think we're getting Dutch Bros or something like that. Me and my two partners, my two coworkers, my friends, and we're talking about, I forgot how we got on the subject, but I brought up Lucha Libre, and we started talking about that. And so we were talking about that, and he was saying, because he was telling me about his son, he loves wrestling, and so his kid, and he was telling me that on the car ride that he said, yeah, my son, he plays, but instead of joining the high school wrestling team, that he he joined the football team. I think he just became a high school student and he joined the high school football team, or he's middle school, something like that. And so he was telling me that his, the football coach is friends with the wrestling coach at his school, and that his wrestling coach is in the bloodline of the Johnson Samoan bloodline. So the guy who runs the wrestling team at his son's, I think it's the high school, is brothers and nephew and whatnot to The Rock and Rikishi, and his cousins are the Usos and Roman Reigns and all of them. And I was like, you fucking kidding me? So when he said no, that's he's the wrestling coach there. And I was like, dude, that is crazy. So anyways, I mean, here, in New Mexico, because I live near the border, I mean, here it's like it's even, nowadays it's still like well known that, that wrestling has a huge culture here. So I just haven't really like, seen too much of it, but because it's more like a Juarez thing. But anyways, like in El Paso, that's like an hour away from here. They have, the lineage of Gory Guerrero, and, the Guerrero family comes from, El Paso. And that's what I was, watching in the documentary this morning about, Eddie Guerrero's story, how he grew up in El Paso, and, in their backyard, like what his sister was saying is like, most kids, they grow up with a trampoline, but, in his family, it was a wrestling ring. And when the kids all got in trouble, what they would do for work, to get, for being punished, like instead of getting, spanked and put in timeout or whatever, he would make them disassemble the ring and then build it again as like a punishment. So I mean, I remember seeing that when I was in high school, like watching clips of that documentary, because I didn't buy the DVD set. I bought the other one from, I remember when me and my dad, back when I was, in high school, this is probably 2003, something like that, 2004, when I was a sophomore and then junior in high school. My dad would take me and my brother to Silicon Valley, back where I grew up. We would just drive like a long distance on Saturday. Like he would drive us, and we would just go to the In-N-Out, and then we would go like to Best Buy, or we would go hang out at Walmart. That's how we had fun, back when, I was growing up. Or we would go to Rasputin's and go buy records and CDs. I only bought CDs. I didn't buy vinyls until later in life. But so we would do that. And so we go to Silicon Valley. And I remember when I went there, I bought the Hard Knocks DVD instead, because I remember seeing there at the Walmart that they had the Cheating, Death, Stealing, Life DVD. I don't know why I didn't buy it, because I was like a huge Eddie Guerrero fan, but I was even more of a fan of Chris Benoit, so I bought the Hard Knocks DVD. I wish I still had it, but I mean, I don't know. I do have a DVD player. It's like one of those small portable ones I used to bring on the job back when I worked for that security company in Maryvale. But anyways, so wrestling pretty much died, and it's, been dead. I mean, even, when I was just, scrolling on my phone on here, like when I was just going through the Facebook meme pages, I saw that like Stephanie McMahon, like for the WW, I call it the WWS Hall of Fame. You can put those letters together as to how I feel about that, because I hate it so much. I think Wrestlemania is like today, but anyways, it's just a big oof, but I'll probably still end up watching it. But anyways, so only like 2 people showed up, or 3 people, and one of them was like just recently a part of the company. So what's his AJ Styles? So like he was just like there, but he got put in the Hall of Fame and whatever. I mean, it's like among the wrestling community, it's just been considered a joke. Like it's not really the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's the Cauliflower Alley from, what I was told back when I was in wrestling school like 15 years ago. That's the real Hall of Fame. Like that's the actual one. But this one, it's like, seriously, only like 3 people showed up. It was the Demolition Tag Team, and then AJ Styles, and then Stephanie McMahon, and then they had like a bunch of inductees into the Hall of Fame, but it was like guys that were like, they're dead. And then she ended up cutting a promo for like an hour straight, is what I was reading, how so many people were like upset about it online. It's like, why do you care about that? Who cares? She cut a promo for an hour, but it's their company. Like, dude, everybody knows this is not an actual Hall of Fame. It's like, it's the same thing with that other like random company of, that does the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame every year. And a bunch of the bands and the artists are in there, and you're like, who is this? Like, why is this guy's in it? Like, come on. So it's like, it's at the end of the day, it's dumb. So it's just a thing for them to just do something, Oh, well, we have our biggest, pay-per-view of the year, so we got to do something kind of thing. It's just one of those things. Like, I could put up my own Hall of Fame and just say it's the Hall of Fame. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's dumb. So, anyways, I was thinking about, so I was watching that, and at the end of the movie of the cheating death, there's like the confetti raining down because Chris Benoit won the World Heavyweight strap from Triple H and Shawn Michaels in that triple threat match. And, before that, the No Way Out pay-per-view that happened, in my backyard, When I bought this hat right here, I really wish it didn't say, like, Las Vegas on it, because I don't like Las Vegas, like, who gives a fuck? But really wish it still said Oakland Raiders. I don't know, maybe I got to buy the vintage stuff. But anyways, it was at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And if you guys know anything about my channel, that's where I'm from, the San Francisco Bay Area. So anyways, Castro Valley, Hayward. So anyways, yeah, it's 9 a.m. All right. So yeah, so I was like watching the video and I saw that, the confetti was raining down. They both had the straps because Eddie Guerrero won. He beat Brock Lesnar, and they both basically had dual, heavyweight straps. Basically the two biggest, straps in the company that happened in 2004. So WrestleMania 20, I don't care who tells me what, because there is some good stuff that comes out. Some, okay? We're talking about a less than 1%. We're talking about it's like the 1% of 1%, because most of it is garbage. Like, it's like what Shane Douglas said in that, like, interview thing he did, is that, like, essentially after, the Attitude Era, like, and it was just trickling down ever since the year 2000, it kind of just kept going down, and then it stayed around there. It doesn't matter who tells you what about AEW and what WWE is doing, like all that, like, no. Most of wrestling is gone, okay? I don't know if it's ever going to come back. I did listen to this one podcast by Jim Cornette on I think it was like the Jim Cornette's drive-thru or whatever, where he said, some guy wrote in saying, is this the lowest amount of attendance ever for pro wrestling around the world? Because it's like what Shane Douglas said, they lost 96% of their audience, okay? And this is for all wrestling all over the planet, okay? So, because the pipeline is WWE, and if it keeps putting out garbage, that's, when you focus on, well, let's make the advertisers happy and let's make these contracts all, like, confusing and shit like that. So, as long as everything is just around the people that are paying for the product when it comes to paying for the ad revenue space or whatever, it's not like commercials like back when it was on cable. Everything is just different now, because now people don't have to try as hard. And it's been like this for like 20 years. You don't have to try as hard, because it's not the point of trying to get people to watch. It's just like, well, I already got X amount of money for the month because of the advertisements of those checks that had come in. So now you don't have to work as hard. Now that means you don't have to have as much talent. So much in pro wrestling has been lost because people aren't trained correctly. They don't know how to cut promos. They don't know how to get over with the audience. There's so many fucking problems. And it's just like, I don't know if like we're due for a renaissance. I don't know. But like I was talking about this like 2 years ago when I was talking about Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and how cartoons used to be hand-drawn back in the 80s and 90s and, stuff like that. It's just, early middle-aged man complaining about, how things have changed, and it's kind of just shit now, which it kind of, we'll see if it changes, man. We'll see. But anyways, when Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero hugged with the belts and it was raining down confetti on WrestleMania 20, that's the day wrestling died. Nothing has really come back or restarted or reemerged or anything like that. They're just we're in a time of very, like, privileged and weak men right now. So there's not like this thing where people feel that they need to try hard to get to the very best level that they need to get at in order to become whatever it is that they need to become. There's just no, when it comes to, I'm talking about a scale of like a percentage of 100% of men, like in America, it's just not there anymore. You can, like, every time you turn on something, everybody acts the same. Everybody comes out of the same fucking school. I'm talking about pro wrestling. They come out of the same school. They do the same stupid moves. We got to do 3 moves because, and then I'll do a suicide dive because then we got to cut to commercial break. Everything is just boiled, completely to shit. It's just watered down. It's like a big who cares. And things are not changing. It's kind of just stuck this way. Like, and this is with most things in life are just this way. The only thing that's still like somewhat good, that's still putting out somewhat like okay shit, is like Instagram Reels and TikTok. But TikTok just got bought by that, one Jewish company. And then like after that, it's just going to be the same shit because a lot of the stuff is censored. So when it's like, well, am I going to go to Clapper? Like, what else am I going to do? Like, because it's just corporations are always going to try to have their hands on the pot to make as much money as they possibly can. I'm talking about, whatever that's going to look like. But then when you do that, then art suffers. Then who you were supposed to become suffers because then you don't try as hard. And you're not developing yourself by working really hard to develop your own body of work. Okay. So like when you want to become a pro, when you want to become a professional wrestler, my theory was like 10 years ago, it's because, it's all PG and they're not cussing and things like that. It's AEW has proven that that's not true. You get on the mic and cuss and do whatever and do whatever you're doing, and then you can have all the free reign you want, and it still sucks. You still don't want to watch. So there's only a very few small amount of people that have made it work, like that Americano, luchador wrestler, him, like with the promos and, Pentagon Jr. And there are some wrestlers that, Mr. Iguana. I like that. There's some wrestlers out there that are like new to the game, what's his name? Maxwell Jacob Friedman, him. Like, there's some guys out there that are still really good. They can put on great matches. I don't really particularly like death match wrestling. I think it's actually really corny for the most part because it's just a show of torture that happens to have wrestling moves, but I do like Nick Cage. So, I mean, that match he had with, what's his name? Like Matt Cardona, like on Gorilla Championship Wrestling or whatever the hell that place is called. Game Changer Wrestling. I don't know. Some of the stuff is good. So I do like some of the new stuff, but 99.9% of it is still really fucking bad. So anyways, yeah. If you're going to watch anything that's like nowadays that's like goodish, I would say is AAA. But anyways, but really, I mean, sadly, that's what's true. That's because that's what happened. It's just, it died. Like WrestleMania 20, like that was pretty much, for actual old school wrestling, where there was that weird transition period into what it is modern wrestling now. But that was where the transition period started happening, was around probably like 2014 to 2015. But WrestleMania 20 is when old school was finished. It's just like in Mick Foley's book when he wrote A Tale of Blood and Sweat Socks, where, he was in the hospital after, I forgot what show. I don't know if it was the one where he got his ear ripped off on the ropes when Vader threw him through that thing. But, and a bunch of the guys were there, and Harley Race was there, and he said, "Kid, you're the new Harley Race." And he was talking about that, Mick Foley was saying in the book that people were, in the wrestling business at the time, back in the 90s, like mid to late 90s, that they were considering him the very last old school wrestler. And so to me, it really shouldn't be any old school. I mean, I watch a lot more UFC and Bellator than I watch fucking professional wrestling, because to me, that is professional wrestling. They come out with the entrances, they act weird, they cut promos. I mean, what's his name? The Incredible Hawk, the guy that was on the 49ers. He's taking on Derek Lewis at the White House. Like, that's, to me, that's wrestling. That is professional wrestling to me. Because if you make it look like you're actually fighting, then that's professional wrestling. But a lot of the people can't fucking do that because they don't have the skill set, yet they get put on, they get the fucking contract, they get whatever, how much money is thrown at them, and they still don't know, but they never learned, like, how to actually work, how to sell, like, how to sell moves. Like, it's a passion of mine. It's like this burning passion inside, because it drives me nuts that when I see things like that and it just sucks so bad. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, the thing is that, like, look, wrestling, I don't know if it's ever going to get to the point where it's going to be good enough to where it's going to get back to the 90s. It's going to get back to that old ECW era. Oh, yeah. So what I was talking about is that Jim Cornette, he put out this podcast once, I heard a couple years ago, when someone wrote in and said, is this the lowest amount of people that have ever come in to watch live shows, and people watching on cable, or even, getting clicks and views online, whatever? Like, is this the lowest amount? He said, no, the lowest amount in history since like 1901 or 1902, when professional wrestling was a circus act, because that's where, professional wrestling is one of the America's oldest sports, but a lot of people don't know that. But, a lot of people don't know about kayfabe and like stuff like that. Like I was just telling the guys at my job about Farmer Burns, where he would, hang himself, and then he would like whistle, because he has such a thick neck that he would hang himself in front of people on a guillotine at the circus, and he would, put his arms up and he would like whistle songs as he was being hung, but the rope, like, it didn't kill him. So anyways, yeah, this is going back like all the way then, but Jim was talking about in World War II, when they had the, the draft at the time for, Americans to go, fight the Japanese and fight the Germans and fight the Russians, back then the Axis of Evil, is that so many people were gone, and they were going, like, America was like dirt poor and like so broke at the time that was the lowest attendance per like territories back then, was during, like, it was like the 1935 to like 1950, that around that time period, that was the lowest amount, was during World War II. So he said, but then nowadays it's like if you turn on AEW, just, with cable statistics, it's still like 60 to 700,000 people tune in to watch. I think it's called Dynamite or something, or I don't know. I don't know what the names are. And then Raw still, it's like they can't break 1 million anymore, because it's just so, I don't know. To me, cable's dead. It's just a thing that like prisoners use to, just basic cable, or, put on Tubi or Pluto or whatever. So, it's like talking about cable nowadays, that's like the equivalent of you saying that you listen to AM radio, which I love. I love AM radio. But anyways, it's like it's a dead technology at this point. So, it's just not a thing anymore. I mean, it's not good where for the past 15 to 20 years, they have to move half the audience into camera angle every time they have their live shows on any kind of like, major platform when it comes to WWE or AEW. So, I mean, dude, this has been going on for like 15 years. So anyways, it's just a thing that just won't die. But so, yeah, that's just my thoughts about it. I don't even know if anything's really going to change. I don't foresee anything changing. It's just, it's kind of like, it's a thing that's like everywhere. That's just, it just permeates everything. It's, we're just in a time right now in 2026. There's no great wars. we all thought we were going to World War III, but it ended up never happening. So I guess thank God for that. I don't know. Either way is fine, I guess. But I'm not going to get drafted. I've been thinking about that for the last month. But I already told my wife if I get drafted, either A, we're going to go, because it's a 5-year prison sentence if you don't go in a Fed prison, possibly. But either way, I'm moving to Mexico City. I'm packing up the stuff that I can take. The rest of it, I'm selling on Facebook Marketplace, okay? And then we're driving all the way down to Mexico City. Or I go ahead and just take it on the chin and go join the military. But I'm going to do what Ernie did, Ernest Hemingway, and I'm going to go become a medic since I already went to EMT school 2 years ago. I figured I could just, be a medic, not in Israel because they'll just blow up the Israeli government will see the American flag on the ambulance I'm driving and just start shooting rockets at me. So, anyways, either way. So, yeah. Other than that, what's been going on in my life is, for the last 6.5 months, I've been, working at my career job. Pretty much just doing the best I can. I don't, I've always been given 100%. I particularly don't if I keep the job or don't, I kind of don't care at this point because I have a backup plan to open up my own business if something were to go awry. I don't want to get fired. I'm not going to quit or anything, but the job is incredibly demanding and you have to really be on it. And there's a lot of pressures and stress to make sure you're doing everything correctly because in law enforcement, just one misstep and you don't fill out something right on a report or something like that. And, you might be the one getting arrested kind of thing if you do something wrong and it's on footage. And it's kind of like to be in law enforcement. It's a thing that nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to be a firefighter, but nobody wants to be a cop anymore. Just because of, what's going on, all the commie-s, liberal stuff that's that has permeated, that has basically infected the cells of every single, city and state government all over the U.S. of, just a liberal agenda and stuff like that. And I don't even care about stuff like that. I'm a classical liberal myself, but it's when is enough kind of thing, Where the people that work in law enforcement, where are we supposed to go? But anyways, I tried to go be an EMT and it just completely fell apart when I was trying to do the NREMT program. And then they said I did it, but they said it didn't count and whatever. And I found out it was a diploma mill. I already have a video you guys can watch about that on here. So about how much money I spent and how it all, they lied to me about a bunch of stuff. Dude, that's just life. So that's just a company purposely putting you through hard times because they wanted a payday. So it's not just the Indian scammers on the phone and the email, okay? So anyways, this is Security Officer Chris 199. I'm going to try to bring you guys, more videos. This is going to be my last weekend, so it's going to be, I think I can record on a Tuesday or Wednesday or a Monday. It just depends on when I'm booked. So I'm going to try to bang out these videos for you guys to, just for my family and friends, for anyone who wants to watch, to see weekly, okay, so what's been going on with Security Officer here, what has he been up to? I'm going to try to pump these videos out. It's just like I was saying, I work 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. It's very, very demanding. I work, the minimum I'm allowed to work is 5/12s. So it's just because it's a job that nobody wants to do. So, and we're just in a time with a lot of soft men where everyone wants to be a fucking YouTube streamer and everyone wants a kick and a Twitch account and they all want to sit there making money doing what I'm doing right now, talking to you guys on my fucking phone. That's what so many kids and men want to do instead of well, maybe you need to pick up a trade and actually go do something to go serve the community kind of thing, So look, I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it. I've tried to do it myself. Okay. I got 46,000 subscribers. So, on a account that the Lord, Jesus Christ has blessed me with. So anyways, yeah, this is just my burner account to make sure you guys know what's just going on in my life kind of thing. And, you know, but everything's going the way that it's going. It's, you know, it's fine. So anyways, all right, I'm out.